The human mind is a labyrinth of light and shadow, where darkness often takes permanent residence. We imagine evil as a grotesque creature in a desolate alley, but reality is more unsettling. The most dangerous people wear the mask of sanity, mimicking social graces while harboring a void where a soul should be. These individuals are your neighbors, waving across the fence while thinking the unthinkable. They hide their predatory nature behind a veneer of boring normalcy. This mask is their greatest weapon, allowing them to move through society undetected, choosing victims with the patience of a spider. Every smile is a calculated move. Among these masters of deception is the charismatic predator. Imagine a man who enters a room and immediately becomes the center of attention. He is handsome and well-spoken, possessing a magnetic charm that makes people feel safe. He uses this light to blind victims to the darkness following him. He does not use force. He uses a disarming smile and the false promise of safety. The betrayal of that trust is his greatest thrill, watching the light of recognition in a victim's eyes fade into horror. This predator projects such normalcy that even when evidence piles up, friends find it impossible to believe he was a hunter of the innocent. They never suspected a thing. What happens when the predator lives inside your own home? The family betrayal is a specific agony that leaves survivors questioning every memory they hold dear. There is a coldness required to share a peaceful meal with a spouse, then commit unspeakable violence during the night. These killers lead double lives, meticulously compartmentalized to keep the truth hidden from those they claim to love. The emotional devastation for family members who never saw the signs is profound. They are left to wonder if the person they loved ever truly existed, or if they lived with a total illusion designed to shield a monster. In major cities, the invisible ghost thrives. This killer operates in crowded shadows, blending in so perfectly they remain undetected for decades. Their reign is built on initial police failures, as investigators struggle to find patterns in what looks like random chaos. This ghost understands the rhythm of the city, using urban anonymity to their advantage. They are the face you forget the moment you pass them, the shadow that vanishes when you turn your head. Their longevity is a testament to their discipline, and the cracks in the systems meant to protect us from the monsters walking among us. Perhaps the most chilling betrayal occurs in the hospital. The medical angel is a caregiver who becomes a bringer of darkness. In a place of healing, where we surrender our safety to professionals, these killers use their power to decide who lives and who dies. Driven by a God complex, they control the ultimate threshold of human existence. Their victims are the vulnerable, making these crimes particularly heinous. Before we continue our descent into these dark corridors, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from, so we can see how far these stories travel. The investigation often hinges on the first reveal. This is the discovery of a piece of evidence so shocking that it changes criminal history forever. It might be a collection of mundane items that take on horrific significance, or a detail at a crime scene suggesting a ritual. These reveals shatter the mask of sanity, exposing the raw edges of a mind that has long since abandoned its humanity. This turning point forces society to confront the fact that some people are fundamentally different from the rest of us. As we peel back the layers, the horror intensifies. We are moving toward a threshold where violence transcends simple cruelty. The next killers on our list viewed their crimes as a dark art form, a ritualistic expression of a philosophy we cannot comprehend. They wanted to transform death into something permanent and profoundly twisted. The path ahead leads into territory where human nature is pushed to its breaking point, revealing secrets never meant for the light of day. These are the individuals who did not just break the law, they tried to rewrite the rules of existence. Beyond the calculated, we find the descent into madness. These perpetrators aren't hiding behind social graces. They are lost within a psyche that has severed ties to reality. For them, the world is a distorted and terrifying landscape of hallucinations. They do not kill for profit, but because internal voices demand it. This unpredictability is terrifying, as there is no logic to their violence, only the movements of a mind in collapse. When authorities arrive, they find someone who is a prisoner of their own delusions. The mind itself becomes the most dangerous weapon. Others are led into darkness by the cult of personality. This is the horror of shared delusion. where a charismatic leader bends the will of many to serve a dark influence. These leaders erase the moral compasses of their followers, convincing them that atrocity is a form of salvation. Individual identity disappears, replaced by a collective machine of violence. It is a chilling reminder of how easily the human spirit is hijacked by the need to belong. Here, the followers' hands are stained by the persuasive poison of a master manipulator. Even more disturbing is the cannibal's secret, hidden in domestic settings. Imagine the shock of investigators entering an apartment only to find the ultimate taboo in the kitchen. This killer lived among us, sharing nods while practicing a depravity that defies comprehension. The discovery is often accidental, a strange smell or a moment of carelessness, shattering the illusion of the mundane. The realization that a human being could look at another as a resource, rather than a person, sends a shiver through society. It is the literal consumption of humanity. Sometimes darkness only needs a devoted partner in crime. This is the story of the toxic romantic bond, where two people create a feedback loop of escalating violence. In these partnerships, one is the architect and the other the enforcer, both consumed by a twisted love that thrives on cruelty. They feed off each other's impulses, pushing boundaries they would never dare cross alone. Their spree is a dance of death fueled by warped loyalty. To them, the world is merely a stage for their shared violence, proving that when two monsters fall in love, the entire rest of the world pays. We must also confront the youthful terror. When those who have not reached adulthood commit acts of extreme violence, it forces us to grapple with nature versus nurture. These are killers with the faces of children, whose crimes represent a permanent and tragic loss of innocence. There is a specific chill in seeing a juvenile face in a mugshot, eyes devoid of any spark, replaced by a cold, predatory stare. They challenge our understanding of rehabilitation, leaving a community to wonder how such a small frame could house such a massive capacity for harm. Evil can take root incredibly early in life. For some, the act is not enough. They crave an audience. This leads to the cat-and-mouse game, where the predator taunts law enforcement with cryptic letters. They see investigators as players in an elaborate sport. Every note sent to a newspaper is a calculated risk to prove intellectual superiority. The tension becomes unbearable as the killer plays with public emotions, relishing the fear generated through the media. This arrogance is often their undoing, but the psychological trauma remains long after the pursuit ends. These killers turn their crimes into a public spectacle, desperate to be the smartest individual in the whole room. As we look back on these cases of madness and manipulation, it is hard to imagine anything more unsettling. Yet we have only scratched the surface. The stories covered so far are the prelude to a deeper darkness. The individuals we are about to encounter in our final chapters did not just break laws. They crossed every human boundary of morality. We are moving toward depth of depravity, where the most incomprehensible cases await. Stay with us as we reveal the final 5 names, the most extreme examples of human cruelty ever recorded in our collective history. Entering the final circle of this dark odyssey, we reach the depth of depravity. These last 5 cases represent the absolute zenith of human cruelty, where the concepts of empathy and remorse are not just absent, but entirely inverted. Here, the horrors are no longer localized. They expand into a global nightmare. One specific predator managed to shock an entire nation, operating on a scale that seemed impossible for a single human being to achieve. The sheer volume of victims left investigators paralyzed, questioning how one person could harvest so much life while the world continued to spin around them. This wasn't just a series of crimes. It was a systematic erasure of existence that left a country mourning a generation of lost souls, proving that a single motivated shadow can darken an entire map. Behind these atrocities often lies a convoluted history, a blueprint of pain known as the genetic monster. This individual was not born in a vacuum. They were forged in the fires of extreme trauma and systemic neglect. By exploring their background, we attempt to find the why behind the what, revealing a cycle of pain that spans generations. We see how the abused becomes the ultimate abuser, translating their own history of suffering into a weapon of mass destruction. The genetic monster is a testament to the fact that sometimes the most terrifying predators are the products of a society that failed to protect its most vulnerable children. Their violence is a distorted language, a scream for attention directed at a world that ignored their own early cries for help. Yet, as the narrator observes, understanding the cause does not excuse the effect, especially when that effect results in the total destruction of innocent families who had no part in the killer's past. Then there is the tragedy of the Silent Town. This was a mass casualty event that arrived like a sudden, localized storm, leaving a community forever changed. In a single afternoon, the fabric of a peaceful neighborhood was torn apart by a killer who displayed nothing but cold indifference to the screams of those they once called neighbors. The survivors were left to navigate a landscape of grief, their quiet streets transformed into monuments of what was lost. While the killer stood amidst the carnage they created, their eyes remained vacant, devoid of the flicker of humanity one expects to find in a moment of such profound gravity. This event didn't just end lives. It killed the very idea of safety for everyone who remained, leaving the town haunted by the echoes of a peace that will never return. Finally, we arrive at the most insane case on our list, the individual known in the annals of crime as the final boss of horror. This was a predator whose methods were so sophisticated and whose cruelty was so calculated that they seemed to exist outside the realm of human psychology. The tension reached its breaking point during the moment of capture, an event that felt like the climax of a nightmare. Law enforcement, after years of a grueling cat-and-mouse game, finally cornered the monster in a nondescript basement that smelled of copper and old wood. As the handcuffs clicked shut, the killer didn't scream or beg for mercy. Instead, they leaned in and whispered their final words to the lead investigator. "I only stopped because I ran out of room." It was a chilling admission that their hunger was governed only by logistics, not conscience or fatigue. The reckoning followed in the shadowed halls of a crowded courtroom where the weight of justice was finally brought to bear. Families of the victims sat in the gallery, their faces etched with the lasting scars of their loss. While the judge delivered the final sentence, many realized that no legal outcome could ever truly balance the scales for the depravity they witnessed. The impact on society was permanent. The shadows now felt longer, and the smiles of strangers felt slightly more suspicious. As we close this exploration into the most insane killers, a haunting question remains. We like to believe that a vast gulf separates us from these monsters. But the thin line between civilization and the darkness within the human mind is narrower than we dare to admit. These individuals are not outliers from another world. They are the extreme end of a spectrum we all inhabit. The mask of sanity is a fragile thing, and perhaps the true horror is the realization that the capacity for such darkness resides, however deeply buried, within the human condition itself. As you turn off your screen tonight, remember that the most dangerous monsters are often the ones who know exactly how to look like everyone else.